It's November 9th. I'm Ezra Levant, and you're watching Battleground. Oh, hi, folks. Every Friday at 12 noon, if I'm not traveling, I like to sit here in my commander's chair. That's my self-appointed title, Commander. Rebel Commander for life, by the way. You can't unelect me. And we call it Super Chat. We don't come up with that name. That's what Google calls it. It's basically those chatty comments on the right-hand side of your screen there. I can read them. I will read them. And if you want your chat to be super, you can chip in a few dollars, quid, pesos, rubles, whatever, and it makes your comment bright in a highlighted color. And if you chip in, I think it's more than $5, it's appended to the top of the box there. And we like that because it's not only proof that you're deeply engaged with us, but we get to keep 70% of the revenues, which is good because, of course, YouTube has demonetized most conservative-leaning commentary sites. So it's a way for you to get your comments known and to help us pay our bills. As I sometimes do, as I usually do, I've got some videos with me, but I don't have a firm script as I do on my 8 p.m. paywall show, where I script it out, and it's a produced show. We just sort of ramble. It's an end of a week kind of thing, and we take some questions. I want to start just with a video of something I saw today, namely a terrorist attack in Melbourne, Australia, just on the street. A Somali terrorist just stabbing. I think he killed one person. Stabbing, went after some cops. They shot him, and it was all caught on cell phone video. Here, take a look at what happened. I guess this is yesterday in Melbourne because I don't know the time zone. It's about 12 hours apart. Take a look at this. That's incredible. That's incredible. You don't often see that. And maybe it's too disturbing to show. Perhaps I should have given a better warning for that. But he just was stabbing. You know, there's a phrase. Have you ever heard that phrase, run amok? Have you ever heard that phrase? Run amok, to run amok. What's that? Well, you know what it means. It means to run around helter-skelter in a crazy way. Run amok, if you look at the etymology of that phrase, it comes from a form of jihad in the Philippines, I believe, where a Muslim man who was humiliated or dishonored in some way would seek to redeem his reputation in the community by running amok in this final blaze of glory, stabbing, shooting, whatever, as many infidels as he could on his way out the door. Google it, run amok. Where does that come from? What does that mean? That's what it means. And that Somali diversity agent there in Melbourne run amok. And it's sort of shocking to see someone shot dead in front of your very eyes. But that's what happened in Melbourne. Australia has more and more terrorist attacks all the time. I don't know if you recall the Lind chocolate shop hostage scenario. It's welcome to Australia. Primus81 chips in $5 and says, thanks, Ezra. Well, you're welcome, and not sure what you're thanking me for, but thank you for chipping in. There's a few things. I mean, do we have the extended Jim Acosta video, and then do we have the slow-mo? I really want to show the contact with the female intern's arm, because that's okay. So I'm going to show you. I think everybody knows by now that the day after President Trump had his midterm elections, which were successful in the context of other presidential midterm elections. Ronald Reagan lost 23 seats in the House in 1982 after his first election. Barack Obama lost, I think it was 63 seats in the House in 2010, the midterm in his first term. It doesn't happen every single time, but it is quite normal for a U.S. president to lose ground in the House. And actually in the Senate too, it's not unusual at all. Trump gained seats in the Senate lost in the House. I think it would have been a lot worse had the Democrats not overplayed their hand with the Kavanaugh hearings. They showed themselves to be maniacs, mobs. They showed what they would do if they were given the reins of power. They wouldn't govern the country or serve the people. They would serve their own psychological war against the president. Anyways, at the press conference, Jim Acosta of CNN wouldn't cork it. By the way, while we're showing this, can you dig up the Obama analog? I think I retweeted it the other day. Barack Obama was heckled by a journalist and told him to sit down and sit down. There was a bit of a crowd there and they started chanting Obama. So let's play you the Jim Acosta one, and then I'll play you the slow motion close-up of Acosta accosting the intern, and then we'll show you the Barack Obama video from a few years back to contrast how the media handles it when it's a conservative journalist being aggressive with a Democrat president. So here's Jim Acosta on Wednesday.
Tail end of the campaign in the midterms.
Here we go.
If you don't mind, Mr. President, that this caravan was an invasion. As you know, Mr. President,
I consider it to be an invasion.
As you know, Mr. President, the caravan was not an invasion. It's a group of migrants moving up from Central America towards the border with the U.S.
Thank you for telling me that.
Why did you characterize it as such?
Because I consider it an invasion. You and I have a difference of opinion.
But do you think that you demonized immigrants in this election to try to keep?
I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally. You know, they have to come in, Jim, through a process. I want it to be a process, and I want people to come in, and we need the people.
Your campaign.
Wait. You know why we need the people, don't you? Because we have hundreds of companies moving in. We need the people.
But your campaign had an ad showing migrants climbing over walls and so on.
Well, that's true.
But
they weren't actors.
They're not going to be doing that.
They weren't actors. Well, no, it's true. Do you think they were actors? They weren't actors. They didn't come from Hollywood. Right. These were people. This was an actual, it happened a few days ago. And
they're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's not an invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
If I may ask one other question, Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr. President.
That's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other question, if I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself.
You know, to show that in its totality, I mean, I've watched little clips of it, but to show the full thing there, how many questions did Jim Acosta put? Well, they weren't really questions, were they? He wanted to debate the president. He so badly wants to debate the president. Well, that you want to debate the president, that's great. Become the Democrat nominee and challenge the president in 2 years. They weren't really questions. They were, it was a debate. It was challenging the president again and again on his use of the phrase invasion. Now, you can agree or disagree with the president on whether or not that migrant caravan was an invasion. That's fine. That's your opinion. But is it really the place in a press conference where you've got 100 journalists who want to ask questions because they're actually interested in what the president has to say? Is it really your place to have a back and forth debate? I don't think so. I think if you watch that whole thing, would you not agree that Jim Acosta was turning it into a debate instead of a question and answer session? The president told him to cork it and move on. He didn't. The president indulged him yet again with his Mueller question, and he just wouldn't shut up. And it's not like he was closing in on some great admission. It wasn't like a cross-examination in a courtroom where you were just about to get the witness to admit to something. No, it was just, that could have gone on all day. Jim Acosta giving his point of view and saying, "Oh, President, you're wrong. I don't think it's an invasion." Okay, well, thanks, Jim. That's your opinion. No one really cares. CNN is a very poorly rated in terms of viewership. Just shut up. But do we have the slow-mo close-up clip now? Because, and just take a look at this. This has turned into a GIF. Take a look. Look at that. So play it again. See, that's, yeah, you see that arm? Play one more time. Yeah. So you can't do that. Now, I'm not saying that girl was hurt, that White House intern. I'm not saying she was hurt by that. I'm saying that's bad behavior. I'm saying you can't do that. Her job is to take the mic and to hand it to other journalists. And you can't go like that. You can't do that. You can't do that. And so he had his pass taken away from him. And I think, frankly, I think he I don't even know why the president calls on him. Although, actually, I do know why. Because I think the president knows he comes out ahead in these quarrels. The Democrats side with Jim Acosta. The Republicans side with Donald Trump. But what does an independent think? My view is the independent would think, journalists certainly are antagonistic to Trump, aren't they? And that changes the framing of journalists from neutral referees calling it as they see it to, oh, they're a player. They're trying to score on the president and he's the goalie. So they're antagonistic. Whenever Trump antagonizes a reporter and the reporter's pride is pricked and he prickles back, you can say, well, Trump won that exchange, Acosta won that exchange. But either side of that little quarrel, no, Trump won, no, Acosta won. Both sides of that debate acknowledge the new framing, don't they? That Trump and the media are antagonists. The media are no longer neutral. That's an incredibly important reframing of how we look at our media. If you're a conservative, you need to change the reputation of the media from neutral to what they really are, liberal antagonists, embedded activists. So I think Trump won the upper hand there. I think Acosta looked boorish and unprofessional. I think touching that intern was wrong. But even if you would say, no, Trump lost that. Well, he won because we're all talking about a quarrel between the media and Trump. And others who maybe impute more to it would say, oh, well, Trump managed to change the subject on 1, 2, 3, 4 other controversies, including the termination of Jeff Sessions as the Attorney General. Anyways, I thought that was very interesting. I see a super chat from Samuel Soderberg, who chips in 50 Swedish kroners. I think that's what SEK stands for. He says, I'm rapidly getting replaced by Middle Eastern immigrants and losing my culture. I once used to be a Viking. What country am I from? Well, I can tell from your last name and your donation of Swedish kroners that you are a Swede. You know, I'd have to dig up the quote because I don't want to go just from memory. But I think it was Charles de Gaulle, who was probably the Frenchest Frenchman since Napoleon. And he said that anyone of any race can become a Frenchman. I'll dig this up. I'm going from memory. I probably read this quote 20 years ago, so forgive my memory if it's off. But he said they have to be absorbed. They have to truly become French. He said anyone, he was asked about, I believe he was asked about Africans, because of course France had its colonies, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, places where they speak French in northern Africa, just like Italy had Libya. And of course, many people from North Africa wanted to come into France. Of course, France was deeper in Africa as well. France had colonies in Syria, for example, Lebanon. De Gaulle was asked, can an African become a Frenchman? He said yes, and a great Frenchman, but they must be absorbed, as in they must be integrated. And can someone from the Middle East, as you say, become a great Swede? Well, of course. But being Swedish is not just a geography, it's a set of beliefs and customs and a shared story, a history, a promise, a plan, a trajectory. And I've been to Sweden, I've been to Malmo, I've been to Stockholm. I haven't spent a lot of time there, but I've met some interesting people. I've met both a Muslim apostate, Mona, I've just forgotten her last name, sorry. And I've met even a Swede who's under 24-hour police protection, Lars Vilks, because he dared to criticize Islam. So yes, a lot of people who have migrated to Sweden in the last 10 or 20 years, not only would they say they are not Swedish, Like they wouldn't insist they are Swedish. They would insist they are not Swedish, that they want to transform Sweden. I spent a day in Rosengård in Malmo talking to Muslim Swedes, and they say by their own volition that they want Sharia law, they want to ban homosexuality, they want to ban alcohol, they want Sharia law to run in Sweden. And they don't say it, they don't even say it in an antagonistic way, they say it in sort of an obvious fatalistic way. Yes, it's going to happen, of course it's going to happen. They don't even need to be aggressive about it because the demographics are all moving their way. Rosengård, I spent the day in Rosengård. I saw two white faces the whole day. One was a security guard at the mall, and the other was a woman who I zeroed right in, and I said, "What are you doing here? What do you think of the changes?" And when I say white faces, it's not a racial issue, it's a religious issue. Sharia law is in Malmo. It's almost 50% Muslim there, and it shows. And when 50% of the people in the community, when a significant proportion of them want Sharia law, it's only a matter of time until it happens. First it happens de facto, and then a law is passed. And why wouldn't it? And why shouldn't it? If 60% of Swedes want Sharia law, why shouldn't it be? And that's what it will be. Kilgore Trout says, who is the best person you ever worked for or with? Well, thank you for that friendly question. I have been very lucky in my life to have worked with people I consider to be great men and from whom I learned so much. And with the passage of time, I see their flaws more than I did when I worked with them. But even though I see their flaws now, I am so grateful for what I learned from them. I mean, let's just go back in time. In 1995, I was an intern at the Fraser Institute working for Mike Walker. Outstanding economist, great fighter for freedom in Canada when it was extremely outnumbered. I'm talking about tough times in the 70s, 80s, 80s and 90s. He was almost alone. So Mike Walker, for sure. Preston Manning. I mean, I disagree with so much of him now. I guess he's what I was thinking of when I said I see their flaws now. But Preston Manning taught me about populism and democracy and building something from the grassroots. I was his legislative assistant from 90, I don't even remember the years, 97 to 99, is that right? And then I worked with John O'Sullivan, who was the comment editor of the National Post when Conrad Black founded it. And John O'Sullivan used to be an advisor to Margaret Thatcher, and he was our guru and our master. And I learned so much from him about writing, not just writing editorials and columns, but persuasion and journalism and just how to make the case for things. Listen, I've worked with a lot of, so those are people I've worked for. I mean, I've worked with a ton of interesting people that I've worked with, or frankly, who have worked for me, even here at The Rebel. I mean, many of them are still working with me now, but others are alumni. I mean, Tommy Robinson is no longer on staff here, but he's a very interesting character. Gavin McInnes, hilarious, artistic, super productive, very controversial, funny, very interesting guy. You know, before she went off the rails, Faith Goldie was a pleasure to work with, and high energy, courageous. I don't want to get into another Faith conversation, but when she was here, she was in some ways our best employee. So we've had a lot of interesting alumni pass through our shop here. And I would like to say that I meet new and interesting people all the time, and we, in fact, here at The Rebel, I mean, some of our on-air talent come and go, but I feel like we're always finding interesting, fascinating people to work with, some of whom you see on TV and some of whom are behind the scenes. I think that one of the luckiest things in my life is how many interesting characters I've met, and not just here in Canada, around the world. And working in conservative grassroots media is not remunerative. If you want to make money, don't do it. But if you want to meet interesting people and chew over interesting subjects, then I do recommend it. Let's see if there's any more supers. Did we find the Obama analog? We did. Okay. So there's a ton of comments, and I'm going to come back to them. But I was just saying how inappropriate I thought for Jim Acosta to want to go 5 rounds with Trump. If you want to do that, then seek public office, and you can have a whole presidential debate against Trump. You can have like 2 hours. But it's not appropriate to engage in an extended debate in a press conference when there's 100 other journalists, and when that's just, and Trump was quite, would you agree with me that Trump was quite patient there? The media is universally on Jim Acosta's side, but it wasn't so a few years back when a journalist who was aggressive with Barack Obama happened to be conservative. Here, take a look at that.
You know what? No. Hey. Yeah, listen, you're in my house. Come on. It's not, you know what? It's not respectful when you get invited to somebody. You're not gonna get a good response from me by interrupting me like this. I'm sorry. No. Shame on you. You shouldn't be doing this. Come on. Can we escort this person out? Come on. You can either stay and be quiet, or we'll have to take you out. All right. Can we have this person removed, please?
Now, in fairness, I don't think the Obama were journalists, but you never know. The one thing in that exchange that irked me, and by the way, I agree, if you want an answer from the president, let the president answer. And frankly, his answer is probably more important than your question. The one thing that irked me, though, was when he said, my house. Don't come to my house. It's actually, I think, the people's house. It's the White House. It's the house of the presidency. Yeah, it is where you live for 4 years or 8 years. And I understand when you're invited to the White House by the president, you should have some deference to him in the office. But I don't think he was. I don't think the president himself there, Barack Obama. I think he was accreting, arrogating unto himself. This is my house. Well, no, it ain't, brother. I think that it's the people's house, and you had an 8-year lease on it by virtue of being the people's choice. I don't think it's your house. At least he didn't use it in the same way that Bill Clinton used the house. All right. Did we have any answer on that South Park thing? Was it what I thought? Was it? It wasn't specifically about Trudeau. Okay. We'll skip that clip. All right. There was another super chat I missed by Justin Time saying, attending Rebel Live tomorrow, looking forward to it. And that was $3.99. Well, thank you very much. When we put Rebel Live up on the screen, and we'll scroll down a second. So the Rebel Live is, we have these conferences. And we got one tomorrow in my hometown, Calgary. Scroll down a bit. We got some pictures there from past Rebel Lives. We had Doug Ford, who's now Premier. We had Jordan Peterson. We had Gavin McInnes. We had some real characters. Scroll down a bit, because I want to show who's coming this year. We got some details about the schedule and whatnot, but keep on going. There we go. So we invited Andrew Scheer and Maxime Bernier. Andrew Scheer has not replied yet. If he shows up, he's welcome to attend. I don't think he will. Maxime Bernier will be there. And we'll have a Q&A. You can ask him the toughest questions you like. There's the lovely Sheila Gunn Reid. She'll be the MC of the event. Keeping scrolling in the middle there. Lindsay Shepherd, free speech activist. Brad Trost, Member of Parliament. John Carpay, he's the head of the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, Canada's leading public interest law firm on the right. Robbie Picard, oil sands activist. Scott Winograd, small business activist. Lee Humphrey, regular guest on my show and a veteran. And then down further, Prem Singh, amazing social activist on the right. Kelly Day, I have not met her yet, but I've seen some of her songs on YouTube. So she'll be performing and singing the anthem. And of course, Kian Bexty, our latest hire. And look at that image at the bottom. That is our Rebel Live in Toronto. I can't remember how many people we had. It was hundreds. I think it was closer to 1,000 than it was to 500. I don't remember. But I know our Calgary venue is going to be packed. I hope there's going to be room for some walk-ins, walk-ups tomorrow. We get started in the morning. It's going to be a great day. And we've got a barbecue food truck coming to feed everybody for lunch. That is going to be delish. So I think there's a few tickets left. To be honest, I think there might only be like 3 tickets left. But we could probably sneak a few more people in than there's officially room for. So that's tomorrow in Calgary. And if you want more info, go to TheRebel.media.com. All right, well, it's 12:26, and I propose that I take some more of your questions. And my answers may be so long that I, in fact, call for some video to support my answer. But let's dig in. Let's just dig in. Would you rather marry Maxine Waters or Leslie Jones? No, because I don't believe in bigamy and I'm married. So did you see how I dodged your question? There's some questions there that I'm just going to skip. Just Cringe Diversity Channel says, why didn't you invite Justin and you say Jerk Meat Singh? Well, because they're not conservative. Now, some would say Andrew Scheer is not particularly conservative, but he does lead something nominally called the Conservative Party of Canada. And he would be most welcome if he attended. Blue Eye says, how is Tucker doing? Did they catch any Antifa and make arrests? You're referring, can we find, I know that Antifa took it down, but there was some clips, I know I retweeted them before they were deleted, of Antifa swarming outside Tucker Carlson's home in Washington, posting his home address, swarming his house, chanting with bullhorns, banging on the door. See if you guys can find it. I know that the original posts by Antifa were taken down, but I bet someone captured it before. You can maybe find it on Twitter, maybe find it on YouTube. If we find it, we'll show it. But it was quite terrifying because Tucker Carlson lives in a severely normal, leafy neighborhood in Washington, like he's just on a normal street. And this mob was outside saying, we know where you sleep, we know where you live. And they're hollering, and he wasn't home, but his wife was, and she was terrified. And I see in the Washington Post today that one of the Antifa literally slammed himself against the door. So they were on his property, cracked the oak wooden door. Imagine if he broke in. And in fact, his wife had to barricade herself in the pantry, lock herself in the pantry. I understand the kids were not home, but that is not a protest. That is a trespass, that's a home invasion, and that is actually the technical definition of an assault, which is to make someone in fear of imminent harm. And of course, it was motivated by reasons of political malice and hate. You could say that was a hate crime. Now, Tucker himself, of course, was not home, and I'm glad, most importantly, that the kids were not. But that's the left. My friends in the control room have found the video. There were several videos, but let's take a look at what they found.
You're outside your home, and we don't even know. We know where you sleep at night.
Melbourne,
We know where you sleep at night.
we know where you sleep at night.
Racist scumbags, leave town. Racist scumbags, leave town. Racist scumbags, leave town.
You believe this? That happened?
So that was outside a home in a residential neighborhood. He was not home, his wife was. Leave town, what does that mean? That's his town. Are they evicting him? Are they lynching him? Are they tried to break into the house, according to reports. I think it'll be an interesting test. We saw earlier Jim Acosta was badly behaved in the press conference, so he had his press pass taken away for open access to the White House. That has been a cause célèbre of every dream. In fact, Reporters Without Borders actually weighed in. I'm sure Amnesty International's weighed in too. Waiting to see them weighing in to protect Tucker Carlson, a prominent American journalist who is being targeted with mobs on the street. Why do more journalists think that Jim Acosta is a victim? He who touched a female intern's arm. Why is Jim Acosta the victim, but Tucker Carlson's wife and family, who were trespassed and almost home invaded, certainly threatened, why are they not the subject of a full-throated defense by Reporters Without Borders, Amnesty International, PEN International, the ACLU, and other groups that claim to care about press freedom? Well, you know the answer. We do have one more clip. Let's show it.
Tucker Carlson, we are outside your home to protest of fascism and racism. You promote hate that's led to an ideology that has led to thousands of people dying by the hands of the police, to trans women being murdered in the streets. Your policies promote hate, and we might even know where you sleep at night. We know where you sleep at night.
We know where you sleep at night.
I want to make a confession, and I'm sorry to say it, but I want to. It's embarrassing, but I'll say it anyways. When I first saw those tweets yesterday, and I retweeted them, my instinct was, that's not real. Because you know there's a lot of fake Antifa accounts on Twitter. Can you look up Beverly Hills Antifa on Twitter and show some of those? There's some clever memeologists on the right who take embarrassing footage of Antifa, as in Antifa doing stupid things, and they retweet them with hilarious handles like Beverly Hills Antifa, because of course Beverly Hills and Antifa, it's just very funny. And they're so embarrassing to Antifa, and it's sort of parody accounts mocking how beta male, how low energy they are, how rude and unsympathetic they are. Maybe Beverly Hills Antifa is no longer online. I think there was, it's Twitter deleted it because it was too embarrassing to the left. I honestly thought, did you hear that? Did you hear at the end of that last bit, that guy said, Tucker Carlson, we know where you sleep at night. Did you hear can you go to the end of that again? I just want people to hear that low testosterone, low energy, vegan, low red blood cell count. Could you play that again? Because I thought this was fake. I thought there's no way this can be real. This is another one of those very clever. Take a listen.
Trans women being murdered in the streets. Your policies promote hate, and we might even know where you sleep at night.
Melbourne,
We know where you sleep at night.
we know where you sleep at night.
We know where you sleep at night. And the guy with the megaphone, he's an uptalker. Do you know what I mean? Normally, when you finish the sentence, your voice goes down. But uptalkers with Antifa, when they say something, Tucker Carlson, he was so I thought, there's no way that's real. I thought, they're posting an address that looks real. They look like they're actually outside a house. But I thought to myself, that's so lame. That's so embarrassing. It's so cringe. And it's so clearly offensive to severely normal Americans that this has got to be another prank like Beverly Hills Antifa. Because showing a mob outside the family home of a conservative journalist will be so off-putting to Americans. That's what I thought. I thought that's a caricature of the left, because no one on the left must surely think that storming a guy's family home at night, and then the soundtrack, we know where you sleep. Is this gluten-free? We know where you sleep at night? Tucker Carlson? I thought there's no way that's real. But it was real. It was real. And that's the Democrats in 2018. Let's see. Jacob Verbrugg, I want Ezra up talking as my alarm. Yeah, it's so irritating. You would take your fist and smash your phone to snooze. Tucker Carlson? What is that thing? That up talking? All right, let's get some more comments. If you want me to read your comment for sure, you can super chat it, and I'll read it for sure. Happy Infidel Fox's wife was alone and was hiding in the pantry. That's what I understand. All right, I'm just scrolling here. Brian C. Any evidence that money destined for foreign aid is actually getting to the people that need it and not to a secret offshore account to pay off the puppet masters? Can you pull up the story that was in our clippings yesterday, I think? Or just Google it. Canada, Afghanistan, foreign aid, billions. Just yesterday there was a report that all the money we've been given to Afghanistan is just stolen. At best wasted, but at worst stolen. Just, it doesn't have to be from our Rebel Buzz clippings, but yeah, there it is. Billions in aid to Afghanistan wasted, including money from Canada, U.S. agency funds. Let me read a little bit here. So this was just yesterday. Billions of dollars in Western foreign aid to Afghanistan, including from Canada, has been lost to widespread waste, lax oversight, and endemic corruption, a U.S. watchdog agency says. The U.S. Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction said in a report to Congress that aid money had gone to build medical clinics without electricity or water, schools without children, and buildings that literally melted away in the rain. Also, corrupt local officials who were in charge of paying workers with some of the funds created what the audit called ghost workers, civilian bureaucrats, police, and soldiers who did not exist, then kept or diverted money recorded as being paid to them. I'll just read one more sentence. There's a lot of corruption, but most of what we have identified are just head-smacking, stupid programs and really poorly managed and no accountability. Nobody is really held accountable for wasting the money, Special Inspector General John Sopko said in an interview with the Globe and Mail. That's what we call a low-trust society. A low-trust society. I saw a tweet the other day that made me think. It was, and it was brutal. It was brutal. It was, in a low-trust society, you can't even have a public bathroom, let alone a high-trust organism like a stock market. And I thought, that's brutal, but it's true. I remember when I went to China a decade ago now, went to the Great Wall, and there was a Starbucks there. And I thought, okay, let's get some food. And there was a bathroom in the Starbucks. If you've been to China, you know that their bathrooms are not Western standard bathrooms in many instances. There's a hole in the ground, as in many third world countries. But they had a fancy Western standard bathroom in the Starbucks. That's great if you're a Western standard tourist in China, especially if you're away from a hotel or the city. So we went to the Starbucks and we used the bathroom. And Starbucks has its standards. There's a lot of Western franchises in China that really train their workers from square one. I watched, I went to a Haagen-Dazs store in China, and the training and the teaching of Western standards of hygiene and food preparation and refrigeration and security, and it was like, I thought, holy cow, these Western restaurant chains are going to transform the culture of China, or die trying. But let me tell you what I saw in Starbucks China. I know you're thinking, what are you talking about? What are you going on here about? What's this got to do with Afghanistan? Well, I'll tell you what. So there was someone at this Starbucks at the Great Wall of China. Every single time someone used the Starbucks bathroom and left, after every person, this staffer was sitting outside with only one job: sit there, and when someone goes in and uses the bathroom, go in after them and clean up the bathroom. Now, you don't need to do that at, well, actually with Starbucks, I guess these days you do, because they become homeless shelters. What am I saying? But this was before their new "we are a homeless shelter for everyone" policy. And I thought, that is crazy. And but it's because, you know, in China there are some people who don't either know how to use a Western standard bathroom, or don't care, or there's the tragedy that comes. They think, well, it's not my bathroom, I'll just mess it up. And Starbucks literally hired a full-time person to sit outside that bathroom and go in after every single person. It was, let me tell you one thing, it was the cleanest bathroom in all of China. I'll tell you that. But that's what you do when you're trying to bring Western standards of accountability and public interactions to a place that hasn't had them before. You know what, I tell you, I was in Iraq last year, and you know, we Canadians, we're worse than Americans. We say thank you very much for anything. Like you buy a piece of bread for $1 and they give it to you, you say thank you very much, and you smile. And they think you're an idiot, because you think, why are you thanking me very much for selling you a piece of bread for 10 times more than I would sell it for a local? You're an idiot. If you smile too much, if you're always walking around, you're an idiot. You're transmitting, I'm a sucker, come take advantage of me. And I tell you, spend a week in Iraq and you figure out pretty quickly that if you don't know what the con is, if you don't know what the scam is, you're the mark. And that's just how it is in low trust societies. And I hate to say it, but the Western concepts of altruism, of charity, of the Marshall Plan, of rebuilding a nation, of course it was stolen in Afghanistan. Of course. Of course it was. Because it's a low trust society. And to me, the greatest example of the difference between a low trust society and a high trust society is, can a woman go out in public by herself in the city at night? And the answer in every Muslim-dominated country is, of course not. What, are you crazy? You can't even go out in public in the daytime. And if you do, you have to wear a full burqa, chador, niqab, whatever, as a way of saying to men, don't grab me, don't molest me, don't rape me. And in Saudi Arabia, for example, you can't even go out without your male guardian. It's not just an oppression of women, but I believe that there is a perverse logic to it, because if a woman is out in public without a guardian, she will be attacked, she will be raped. Can you grab a B-roll of Taharush? We've you know what I'm talking about, we've shown that before. And so you take a woman from a high trust society. What's the name of that 60 Minutes correspondent with the Australian accent? You know what I'm talking about? 60 Minutes, Cairo, Taharush. That's exactly who, Lara Logan. I think there's actually video of it, of her being attacked, real time. I'm just Googling, yeah. It's terrifying. There's certainly a picture I'm looking at right on the internet now. Lara Logan of 60 Minutes thought, I'm a proud professional woman. I'm the top of my profession. I'm with the prestigious CBS. I'm with put any image up, whether it's a B-roll or, there's Laura Logan. So look at her there. So she's an attractive woman, blonde hair, which is unusual there. And she's not wearing a hijab or a niqab or a burqa. And there was not, I can assure you, there was not one other woman in that entire square in Cairo. And she did not have a male guardian or owner. And she was attacked and groped. And I don't know if she was actually technically raped, but she was certainly sexually assaulted in that square, because you can't take someone from Australia or LA or New York and dump them in a low trust society and say, hey guys, I trust that you're going to be fair with me because that's our sporting spirit. That's our Marquis of Queensberry rules. Yeah, it doesn't happen over there. Do we have the Taharush B-roll? So what happened to her is so common over there, it's got a name, it's Taharush. That's an Arabic word. Go ahead and play the B-roll of it. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. My point is, if someone, God forbid, is being raped in a Western high trust society, and someone says, help, I'm being raped, or someone says, stop, rape, other men come and help. But look at that woman. Everyone's joining in. They're taking her underground into the subway station to get a piece of the action, to join in, not to save her, but to join in the assault. That's the difference between a high trust society and a low trust society. In a high trust society, if someone is stealing money, other people call the cops or stop them. In a low trust society, they join in the looting. That's what we've just experienced in Afghanistan. In a high trust society, when a woman of no relation to you, a stranger, says, I'm being raped, you help that woman or call for help. In a low trust society, they join in. That's the difference between a high trust society and a low trust society. And we are inviting in, en masse, people from low trust societies, and they, as I said at the beginning of the show, it is possible for people from anywhere in the world to become Brits, to become French, to become Americans, if they absorb and integrate our values. And de Gaulle said it can be done, but you can't do it en masse. You can't overwhelm things. That's why Sweden is now the country in the world with the second highest rate of rapes. I see a super chat from Wicked Servant eBay. I know Rebel was hit hard by suspicions of what was done with certain monies. None of our people are perfect. Look at Trump. But we have in common the task of saving the West. Keep up the good work. You are incorrect to say that we are hit hard with suspicions of the monies. You're talking about 2 employees I fired over a year ago. And they have discredited themselves in a number of occasions. We publish, in fact, in reaction to those baseless accusations, we publish our finances online now, even though we're a private company. Can you go to TheRebel.media/trust? In fact, we should update these numbers because we update them annually, but we publish down to the dollar how much money we raise in crowdfunding and what we spend it on. So just call up TheRebel.media/trust. How the Rebel crowdfunds. Keep going, scroll down. Our average gift is $63. No single donor is given more than 2% of funds. We crowdfund for our business operations and for external charities. In the past fiscal year, the Rebel has crowdfunded $1.5 million, which nearly covers the $1.67 million in expenses, blah, blah, blah. Keep scrolling, keep scrolling. Keep going down, keep going down. So if you go there, we show various external charities. Keep going down, keep going down. Those are for external charities. Internal crowdfunding, $1.543 million. We need to update this because it's a year old, but breakdown here for journalism, studio build out, security, lawyers, furniture and office equipment, advocacy campaigns, camera equipment, staff. And then I recall at the time we were building a studio for Tommy, so we actually showed that. Yeah, keep going, scroll down. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Keep scrolling. Down, 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 down. Yeah, we even did Tommy's studio, and we handed that studio over to Tommy when he left us. I don't think he used it more than twice because he didn't want to hang around in a studio. He's a man on the street, but we did give that to him and the equipment. So I reject the premise of your question. We, in fact, disclose our internal crowdfunding, and we should update those stats because they're a year old, but we will. I see Ole Larsen chipped in 150 Danish kroner. Thank you very much. Ole, I don't see any question linked to your crowdfund or to your super chat, but feel free to ask a question. I'll keep my eyes peeled for it. Jan Schoenfeld chipped in $13.99. Thank you very much for that. Have I missed any other super chats? No, I think that's it. Okay, I think there's one here. I can't see it. Can you email that to me because I don't see it here in my own feed. I'll get it by email from our team here, and I'll answer it in a second. But let's, in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that email to come through, let me just here we go. Tamajit Chakrabarty chips in $2.79, says midterms voter fraud, same in Canada 2019. Well, thank you very much. I just this morning saw a crazy clip of some elections official in Broward County. Can you find it? I think Ryan Saavedra of Daily Wire would have tweeted it. It's a woman who in the past has been condemned for irregularities. She won't even say how many ballots she's still counting, because whether it's 1,000 or 100,000. The elections is Friday. Elections were Tuesday. Everybody else managed to count there. And listen to this lady. What a perfect Democrat.
Things are on the count right now. Just in general.
Could I please get a moment to go into the room and find out?
Sure.
Okay. When I come back, I'll let you know.
Dr. Snipes, it is now Thursday. Mm-hmm. We are still counting ballots in Broward County.
5 pages or 6 pages for each of the people who voted.
But other counties have been able to do it.
But other counties didn't have 600,000 votes out there.
Well, Miami-Dade did.
Well, have you been inside Miami? Never mind. Let me go check. I'll check.
But it's a serious issue. It always seems like it is.
It's a serious issue with me. I've been doing this now since October 22nd.
But if it's a serious issue with you...
We ran 22 sites. We ran 14 days. We ran 12 hours. We had a big vote by mail. So don't try to turn it around to make it seem like I'm making comedy out of this.
I don't think anybody's... Anybody making... But the question...
Let me just...
But there are serious questions. Why is she done for the moment? We'd like to know how many votes are outstanding.
He's going to get us some numbers, guys. He's going to get us some numbers. Let's just be patient, and we should be patient here.
Woo! Yeah, it's Friday. And they're still counting, and they'll keep counting until they discover new votes. No one's allowed in the room. She won't say where the ballots are from. She won't say how many there is. That's Broward County, one of the most corrupt counties in America. And you may recall that's also the county where the corrupt sheriff, and I call him corrupt for various reasons I won't go into now, when there was that shooting at the school, his deputies arrived and they did not go in because it's too dangerous. Too dangerous. It's 12:54. Let's see if I can answer a few more questions. If you have a super chat, go ahead and make it. Otherwise, I'll try and find something. John Zealand. Ezra, is it true Tommy has been booted off PayPal? Yes, it's true. I've seen their note. Maybe Tommy's posted it in public. They give no explanation whatsoever. They say he simply violated their terms of service. They won't say which term of service, and they won't say what he did to violate which term of service. I think it's serious deplatforming, political, and I don't think banks should be political. Yeah, so that has not affected the work we did with Tommy, obviously, and hopefully it won't affect, I mean, we crowdfunded Tommy's legal campaign, and I would be shocked if PayPal would do something like suspend a PayPal account for defending anyone's legal defense. I mean, even an accused murderer has a right to a legal defense, let alone an accused journalist. But you never know. I mean, deplatforming is a mania on the left. Let me put it this way. If they'll literally bash themselves against the door of Tucker Carlson, are you surprised that they're deplatforming Tommy Robinson? I'm just trying to find a comment that's really succinct and it's not too obscure and makes some allusion that either I or the viewers won't understand. Okay, I mean, a lot of these comments are great. I just don't understand what they're referring to. Wicked Servant eBay says, Sheriff Scott Israel, an evil, cowardly piece of garbage who was not held accountable for utter failure of his office and staff. That is the sheriff there, and in fact, we had a campaign called FireScottIsrael.com, and Twitter blocked that domain. You literally could not type it. You could type it, and click tweet, and they would block it. That's a fact. Amanda Joy, Melbourne terror attack. Ezra. Yeah, I started the show on that. I played the clip. When this live stream is done, go back. That was the very first thing I discussed almost an hour ago. Trilock Sivakoti says, ballot papers speak itself. You can't make job done by blah, blah. Here in Canada, we use paper ballots, and I prefer them because you can't hack a paper ballot. Yes, you can counterfeit them or fake them or some way, but it's physically possible to inspect them, keep them, seal them. I prefer the paper ballot. It's my view. Gavin Giant, there is a different way to support Tommy without using PayPal. Yeah, another online processor is called Stripe, and there may be others as well, but they are censorious too. If you doubt me, look at others who have been deplatformed for, I mean, listen, there's only so many deep infrastructure companies in the internet, and if they don't get your web host, they'll get your domain registrar. If they don't get that, they'll get PayPal. If they don't get that, they'll get your bank itself. I mean, really, when they say deplatforming, they really mean it. Observer Dude chips in 20 quid. Thanks for that. I was threatened with violence in a bar by a staff member, all because I mentioned Tommy. The guy thought I was being anti-Muslim and racist. I found his Facebook profile, and he's anti-Christian who posts pics of burning churches. Yeah. Yeah, well, so I guess that's okay, but not supporting Tommy Robinson. There's a mania. Now, the thing is, you know, we still work with Tommy. He doesn't work for us anymore, but I talk to him, frankly, every day. And we helped him with his petition, standwithourlads.com. That, I haven't checked in the last few days, but that was right on the doorstep of 200,000 signatures. When was the last time you've heard a real petition in the United Kingdom getting 200,000 signatures? That's huge. And that was like in a week or two. So Tommy is a lot, I mean, or more to the point, when he had that street demo outside the Old Bailey a couple weeks ago, 2,000 people easily showed up. So there's a lot of haters, but there's a lot of fans. In America, I think it's divided the same way. You got Democrats and you got Republicans. We saw that mob outside Tucker Carlson's house, but there are supporters too. You know this because Trump has massive, massive rallies for Trump, for his campaign. These rallies have not been replicated for sort of a movement. They're more a partisan act, but maybe one day they'll come. It's almost 1 o'clock, but I'm so glad Justin Tyne super chats Tommy Atkins poem. Yes. Every Remembrance Day, I read the poem by Rudyard Kipling. Can we just Google it in the last minute here? Rudyard Kipling, Tommy Atkins. I'm going to read 2 lines from it, because it's already 1 o'clock Eastern. And that's my show tonight, because Remembrance Day is on Sunday. Every year I read the poem Tommy Atkins from Rudyard Kipling, and this year I have a song too. I went into a public house to get a pint of beer. The publican, he up and says, "We serve no redcoats here." Redcoats, of course, is what the British military traditionally wore. The girls behind the bar, they laughed and giggled fit to die. I outs into the streets again, and to myself says I, "Oh, it's Tommy this and Tommy that and Tommy go away. But it's thank you, Mr. Atkins," when the band begins to play. I'll stop there, but just to explain it, Tommy Atkins is the nickname for a British soldier, like G.I. Joe would be. So Tommy Atkins is your classic British recruit. And the poem, which I really recommend, and I'll read it on my show tonight, it's how soldiers are treated when the troopers on the tide, when the drums begin to, when the battle is on, then it's, "Oh, Mr. Atkins after you." But when the war is over and when they're just veterans, "Ah, Tommy, get out of here, you're drunk, Tommy. Tommy, get out of here. Don't ask for such a pension, Tommy." So it's what's incredible to me about that poem, and I read it every year in full, is that poem was written more than a century ago by Rudyard Kipling. What was the date of that? That was before World War I, wasn't it? It's like 1905 or something. So they have, so Rudyard Kipling, 1890 I hear. So even in 1890, British soldiers were being mistreated, let alone before the Great War, Second World War, all the other wars, the Falklands War, the Afghan War. So the problems of not treating soldiers with respect, Kipling wrote about it 130 years ago. It's 1:02. We're out of time. Tune in tonight at 8 p.m. for my paywall show. It's a Remembrance Day theme. If you're in Calgary, I'll see you tomorrow at the Rebel Live. And for the rest of yous, keep watching your Rebel videos at TheRebel.media, or if you want something special, go to caravanreports.com. That's David Menzies' reports from the migrant caravan in Mexico. Until next time, on behalf of all of us here at Rebel World Headquarters, keep fighting for freedom.